Alright guys, welcome back to the second part of the Kingdom Manga Timeline video series. Now in the previous timeline, we ended with the escape from Bayou Arc. That was chapter 81. In this part, we're going to cover the Assassination Plot Arc, Training Arc, and the Battle of Bayou Arc. Now before we get started, I wanted to clear up a few things in regards to the names of the characters. Now in the translation that I was reading, they started off by calling everyone by their Chinese names, but later on, they switched over to Japanese translations. So going forward, I'm going to primarily stick to the Japanese translations, but I may go back and forth just kind of unconsciously. But just to clear things up so no one's confused, Lord Duanhe is also known as Yotanwa, King Zhang is known as Aisei, Wang Yi is known as Oki, King Zhao is known as King Shou, and Diao is known as Ka Ryo Ten, or just 10. And Shin is just Shin. So I think those are the main characters who are primarily affected by this. Most of the other side characters probably not going to be as important, but hopefully that clears things up, guys. Without further ado, let's get started. Zhang states that his senses have since returned to him. Shin and Diao head to the market to buy some armor. Due to Shin's age, no one takes him seriously, outright refusing to sell him anything. Shin is then promoted to a 100-man commander, to the surprise of everyone. Afterwards, Shin receives his armor. Changwen states that 11 men with political power were assassinated, which makes Heki think it's the remnants of Ketsu's faction. 4 more people are assassinated, as we see a clan of assassins preparing for their true target. Clan Chiyu's representative is there as well, and it turns out to be Kyo Kai. Other assassins bow down to Kyo, claiming his clan have been feared as demons for thousands of years. Shishi informs Changwen that the king, himself, is the next target. The assassins enter the palace, with Shin and Diao cutting off their advance. Though there's 9 assassins, Shin sees through their tricks and begins cutting them down. A group of different assassins then peer down into the king's sleeping chambers. Shin instructs 10 to go ahead and warn the king about the assassins. 10 is caught immediately, but then Kyo shows up. In a flashback, Kyo warns Shin not to go to the royal palace if he valued his life. Kyo instructs him to hand over 10. Shin takes down 7 assassins, and the other 2 retreat. The Gokin clan attack Kyo with their hardened ki, yet the small assassin takes them down with ease, looking like a monster in the process. Shin catches up to 10, as she is fearful of Kyo's strength. Zhang attacks an intruder, but it's Shin. Zhang is surprised that Master Shishi sent for Shin. Changwen's party then arrives at the palace. Heki contemplates another state assassinating Zhang, but that would be the greatest taboo. The Zhang party then arrives at a secret passage that leads them out of the palace. Unfortunately, the door's been locked from the other side. Zhang deduces that it must be Liu Shi, otherwise known as Chancellor Ryo. Jokan was the assassin who tried to kill the king a year ago, but was ultimately killed by Shin. The first assassin attacks, with Shin defeating him with 1 slash. Kyo Kai then steps forward. The 2 begin the duel, as the other assassins remark that the Shiyu clan are not human. Shin goes in for a thrust, but Kyo jumps onto the blade of his sword. Kyo cuts into Shin and easily dodges his counterattacks. Kyo knows of the last rebellion and wonders why he protects the king. Shin sees the king as a comrade. He urges Kyo to abandon his life in the shadows, yet the assassin pushes back. Zhang mentions that the Shiyu clan should be in Wei. The battle continues with Shin taking more damage. The Shiyu clan are defined by 2 traits: inhuman swordplay and a ruthless mentality to cut down anyone in their way. The Shiyu name is passed down to only 1 individual, who proves themselves the strongest of each generation. The Goma clan then intervenes. With little recourse, Shin demands that Kyo and him team up, yet the assassin refuses. Despite this, Kyo asks Shin to defend the assassins for 30 seconds so he can recover. Shin steps into the middle of the assassin formation, yet he's knocked down. Kyo recovers his breath, lopping off the heads of several assassins. The Goma assassins retreat in fear, as Shin wonders what kind of path Kyo Kai has been on up until now. Kyo continues the onslaught, but runs out of stamina in the process. Shin musters his remaining strength to protect the king, but his job is done, as they bought enough time for Changwen's party to save the day. Heki wants the assassins captured alive so they can interrogate them. The last Goma assassin attacks Zhang, but he takes him down with ease. Shin and Kyo recover from their wounds as Shin vouches for Kyo's reputation. In the dead of night, Kyo looks to escape, but runs into Ten, who determines that the assassin is a girl. Shin is shocked to hear this from Zhang. Zhang states that the only one who inherits the Shiyu name is a woman. Ten wants Kyo to teach her the techniques of the Shiyu clan. The leader of the Shu Kyo clan wants to assist Kyo, but she instructs him to fulfill his own obligations. Shin then wonders who the Shiyu really are. To the Shiyu clan, the sword was used to venerate the heavens. Talented young girls receive training from a young age to inherit the Shiyu name. With 19 clans, each tribe would send 2 candidates to fight for the Shiyu name. Only one would survive this onslaught. Kyosho doesn't want to die at a young age, or see Kai die either. On the day of the onslaught, Kai oversleeps, finding out Sho put her to sleep with incense. In a flashback, the ritual begins, as Sho feels confident that she'll win. Kai reaches the battlefield after the fighting is done, finding Sho's severed head on the ground. Though Sho was the strongest one of the bunch, the others all targeted her at once. The others command Kai to kill herself, yet she slaughters the old crones. Her last desire is to find the current Shiyu. Ryo was behind the assassination attempt. Unfortunately, the entire royal court is under his thumb, so punishing him is impossible. Cheng-Wen states that Ryo's men are top-notch, as the Chancellor arrives in the royal capital. Ryo and his faction enter the palace, exuding the aura of generals on the battlefield. Ryo then greets the king. Shin feels engulfed by Ryo's presence, terrifying him enormously. Ryo then admits he was behind the assassination attempt. Zhang treats the matter as a joke, knowing he has no power over Ryo. Ryo informs the king that he'll have his men investigate the incident. Saitaku, a chancellor from King Sho's reign, is Chin's highest-ranking diplomat and is working under Ryo. Mobu, a warrior under Ryo, states that he wants to revive the 6 great generals of Qin. Under the reign of King Sho, the god of war, the 6 great generals instilled fear all across the land. These 6 men could wage war as they saw fit. However, with such a system, there's always the danger of a revolt. Mobu claims he's the strongest in all of China. General Oki is the last surviving member of the 6 great generals. Ryo suggests that he pick the 6 men to fulfill these roles. He then allows the king to mull it over as he takes his leave. Assassinating Zhang is a game for the Chancellor. They then return to their estate. Zhang tells Shin about the 4 pillars of Ryo's faction. Rishi of the legal system, Shohei for military affairs, Mobu, a warrior, and Saitaku for diplomatic affairs. Ryu used to be a merchant, but through his money schemes, he helped Zhang's father to become the king. Lord Dawanhi continues to consolidate the mountain tribes. The Jishi faction joined Zhang, yet Ryu is not in the least bit worried about this. Ten informs Shin about Kyo Kai's past. In a flashback, Kai tells Ten of a way she could enter the battlefield, but she would have to give up her current lifestyle. In the now, Ten tells Shin she'll become a strategist. Ten meets up with Kai as Kai goes to talk to Shin. Kai passes on Ten's message that she's leaving for a while. Ten then arrives at her training location, but finds out that the people here are part of Ryo's faction, and they want to kill Cheng-Wen. Shohei reads the letter of recommendation from Kai, and accepts Ten for training. Moki knows that Ten is allied with the king, and informs her that they only accept 1 out of 100 people for the position of strategist. Saitaku knows of Ten's relationship with the king, claiming she's a valuable piece. That being said, Shohei is more interested in acquiring Shin after hearing of his exploits. Kai warns Shin about his reckless behavior, saying he'll eventually die if he continues fighting this way. Kai is heading to Wei so that she can have her revenge. Shin informs Kai that he added her to his 100-man unit. When he wakes up in the morning, Kai is gone. En was sent to Shin's village to act as a liaison in case of emergencies. The two then venture off to Oki City so Shin can get stronger. They reach the front gate, but Oki approaches them from the rear. Oki and his men just finished up an army drill. In the bathhouse, Shin asks Oki to train with him. Oki's underlings scold him, yet Shin says that he'll become Oki's right-hand man in a short amount of time. Oki accepts this, saying he'll take Shin to someplace fun. Shin asks Oki how to become one of the 6 great generals. Oki begins by saying that no one in Qin is worthy of that title right now. The original 6 were Hakuki, Oko, Kosho, Shibasaku, Kyo, and Oki. Their names resounded all across China. Mobu is certainly worthy, but hasn't built up enough experience yet. Shin claims he'll surpass Oki one day, as he thinks of Piao. Oki then kicks him off of a cliff, and with this, his training begins. In the meantime, Moki and Ten will accompany Shohei in the next war. Shin's training entails subjugating a stateless region in Chin. Shin is thusly tasked with leading a 100-person tribe to victory. Unfortunately, the tribe is only filled with old people and women, but if he can do this, he'll finally achieve the training with Oki. It is the third year of Zhang's reign. Under Ryu's orders, an army of 200,000 men set out for Han. Moki was turned down for this war, and Shin won't be participating. Ko is conquered by Qin, along with 11 cities. Choto is dispatched for the southern defenses by Ryo. Duke Hyo is stationed at the front lines of Wei, and Zhao's 3 great generals are long gone, leaving their military in flux. Meanwhile, Zhao King, King Tojo, instructs Hoken, one of his new great generals, to crush Qin. The Qin city of Bao is then attacked by Zhao. Upon hearing this, Zhang orders an emergency conscription of 100,000 soldiers. Zhao's massacre spreads to several villages of Qin, overseen by the vice general, Man Goku. Meanwhile, Shin finished subjugating the territory. The conscripted soldiers begin their march. Zhao then lays siege to Bayou. Zhao's army numbers at 120,000 soldiers, with Qin's at 100,000. All the notable generals are preoccupied with Han, except for Mobu. Ryo suggests appointing Mobu to the commander-in-chief, yet Chang Wen disagrees. Mobu's strength lies in the offensive attacks, but Chang Wen wants the strongest general in all of Qin. Just then, Oki walks in with Shin in tow. Mobu towers over Oki. Turns out that Shohei summoned Oki to the throne room, so he could assume the role of commander-in-chief. Mobu is seething from this decision. Oki asks everyone to leave so he can be officially appointed by the king. Oki speaks glowingly of King Sho, and remembers he must pass on a message to Zhang from the god of war. Afterwards, Oki is officially appointed to commander-in-chief. Shin and Zhang converse shortly before Shin heads off for battle. Heki is tasked with leading the infantry unit. Kyokai then returns as Shin enters the battlefield. Shin then appoints squad leaders. Shin's unit reports directly to General Oki. Shin wins over the group rather easily and appoints En to lieutenant. In a flashback, we see Oki and Chang Wen when they were 100-man captains. In a later battle, Kyo, one of the 6 great generals, fell in the battle over Bayou. Oki wants to bring a conclusion to his past through this battle over Bayou. Kai then returns to Shin. Shin promptly announces her as the 2nd lieutenant. Mobu is named the vice general and takes the vanguard. Oki then begins his march, 15 days away from Bayou, with Shin only being 9 days away. News spreads that Bayou has fallen to the Zhao army. Several men begin deserting as the march continues on. Just then, as morale seems to be at a low point, hope returns when Oki and his army closes the distance. At night, Shin and Kai have a sparring match. Kai tells Shin about the secret technique of the Shiyu, the priestess dance. She then says that some people carry a god within them. They are known as Bushin. Chang Wen panics when he hears the name of the Zhao general, which is Hoken. Apparently, Oki slayed him 9 years ago. Hoken finds out that Oki has joined the battle. It turns out that Hoken defeated Kyo in battle. Despite this, Chang Wen and Oki pretended as if it never happened, and they said it was due to an illness. 9 years ago, Hoken barged into the 100,000-man Qin army all by himself, defeating them with ease. After Kyo's death, Oki rushed over and gashed Hoken in the face. Zhang then thinks about Kyo's various accomplishments and how he was ferocious in the heat of battle. Kyo never removed his mask though, making Zhang speculate that maybe the famed general was actually a beautiful woman. Hoken announced himself as a Bushin 9 years ago. Hoken then seeks out Oki as a form of revenge, thus his reason for becoming a Zhao general. The Qin reinforcements arrive at Bayou. Hoken wonders where Oki is. Ten and Moki arrive at a safe location to observe the battle and gather experience. It turns out that Zhao has 5 generals for this battle. The armies then finish their positioning as everyone prepares themselves for the onslaught. Zhao's offensive arm is compromised to 3 armies, each numbering at 20,000 soldiers. Heki is a commander of 1,000 men, and he's in the 4th army. Mobu leads the army of 40,000 soldiers, and he's also the father of Moki. Zhao plans on deploying heavy cavalry for the first dash, making it a battle of strength. Mobu smashes through the Zhao forces, as the vanguard is equally ferocious. Just then, Oki leaves his post. He corrects a soldier by saying that Shin's main offense lies in the left army, not in the center. Oki then confronts Shin's group. He wants them to attack the left and kill an enemy general. Their target is Fuyuki, a brilliant battlefield analyst. With only 100 men against 10,000, many consider this suicide. Shin, despite the odds, accepts the mission. Oki dubs them the High Shin Unit, which means Flying Trustworthy Unit. The others are skeptical, but En says they'll flank the enemy and catch them off guard. To reports to Oki that the right army has been pushed back and the center is at a standstill. But the left army is progressing well. Shin's army sneaks through the thickets as Kai kills an enemy scout. Heki pushes forward, but General Fuyuki laid a trap. Soldiers are skewered alive as a barrage of arrows fly in. Shin plans on charging in using a column formation, with the 4-monster strength squad leading the charge. Shin inspires resolve in his comrades, emphasizing they need to stop the Zhao here and now. Shin's army makes its charge, as Ryusen leads the way. Shin's left army experiences numerous casualties, as Heki is pierced with multiple arrows. Shin switches to Vanguard. Moki notices that the Zhao's officer camp is brittle due to their current formation, something Oki predicted. Everyone in the left army is being massacred, but Heki urges them to push forward. Army Commander Kano helps Heki's unit break through. Fuyuki's plan seems to be working beautifully. Meanwhile, the High Shin unit is halfway through their target. Fuyuki finally notices them as he realizes that Oki is after his head. The High Shin unit then reaches Zhao's HQ. En urges everyone to work together to take down their strong adversary. Only 300 soldiers stand between Shin's group and General Fuyuki. Meanwhile, Zhao's right army continues to massacre the Qin left army. The High Shin unit is brimming with energy, watching their boss slay down countless enemies. Finally, they reach the inner layer, with Fuyuki flabbergasted. Shin used half of his unit as a shield to make it this far, and they're currently down to 30 men. In a flashback, it was En's plan to split the unit in half. Kyokai slayed an enemy captain before the split occurred. The final battle is 30 versus 300, as Shin instructs them to charge. Kai and Shin are then targeted on both sides. Oki tells To that while Fuyuki excels in long and medium-range combat, he has a deficiency in short-range combat. Though he has a number advantage, Fuyuki instructs his men to run away to create some distance. The High Shin unit is now in the death trap. Though things look grim, a barrage of spears come in from Kano's army. Fuyuki recalls a portion of his men to attack Kano's unit. Heki's unit of 200 men then enter in to provide assistance. Bito urges Shin to take Fuyuki's head, otherwise their efforts were for naught. Kano's army struggles on, as Shin notices how close he is to Fuyuki. Fuyuki wonders if there was a flaw in his tactics. He realizes that Oki read his plans perfectly from the beginning, ensnaring him into his schemes. Fuyuki runs away, realizing that if he survives, Oki's plan has failed. Shin's flags are raised, blocking Fuyuki's escape. Though this was just a ploy on Oki's part, since it was only 50 men holding up the flags, and if Fuyuki would have realized this, they would have had to retreat. Kano tells Fuyuki this is the end, as Shin utilizes this small opportunity to leap in and slash down the general. Kano declares victory as Oki is impressed with Shin's skills. The chain of command breaks down for the Zhao army, leading them to retreat and scatter. En's unit then returns to Shin. Mobu's center unit forces Zhao to change their plans, as Zhao's left unit pushes through, heading to Oki's HQ. Despite this, Zhao sounds the gong to retreat as Oki does the same. Oki explains to Shin that his name will spread to the enemy camp, and eventually, throughout the entirety of China. Shin will continue achieving great feats, so his name will be etched into China's history as a great general. The other Zhao generals are in disbelief that Fuyuki was slayed. Hokin has been resting this whole time, making the others wonder why they need him. After the first day, the Zhao army stands at 112,000 men, while the Qin army is at 80,000. Rihaku recognizes Mobu's strength, but claims he'll never break through their defenses. Kano offers his 3,000 men to Mobu for assistance in breaking through Zhao's defenses. Yet, Mobu harshly declines this. Rihaku's defensive strategies are known far and wide. Despite this, Mobu breaks in. Mobu intentionally didn't break through on the first day to give his men training experience and a moral boost. Rihaku's army then performs the snake formation, looking to trap Mobu. Mobu slaughters the enemy troops. Moki recalls Shohei's words about strategies and how only Mobu can defeat them based on his strength and his strength alone. Mobu is not interested in Rihaku's head, just annihilating the Zhao army. With the collapse of Zhao's center, Qin sounded the retreat bell and called it a day. Moki, a strategist, thinks it's ridiculous that his father wants to be the strongest in all of China, since it takes more than strength to be strong. Mobu continues plowing through the Zhao army on day 3. Zhao thusly wants to utilize their entire army to eliminate Mobu for good. Oki summons Mobu to HQ, instructing him he's handing over the entire military to him to eliminate Zhao in one single sweep. The Zhao general Shomo wants to take out Mobu and Oki and become one of the great generals under the heavens. The Haishin unit is then integrated into Kano's 4th army. Mobu begins his charge once again, as the rear elements follow suit. Zhao is caught off guard by this, as Choso realizes they're aiming for his head. Qin forces reach the mountain where Zhao HQ is located, but it has strong defenses. What should have been an easy victory for the Zhao army has turned into a nightmare, starting with the loss of Fuyuki. Choso realizes that Oki has bested him, instructing his men to move the HQ. The Zhao generals are confused by this, but go along nonetheless. Meanwhile, somewhere in the woods, 2 new people, Kaini and Riboku, watch on. Shin is befuddled as to why the Zhao army is retreating. Riboku then approaches the Qin strategist. In a flashback, Oki predicted that this might happen, so he thusly left the decision to pursue Zhao to Mobu. Unsurprisingly, Mobu decides to pursue, remembering that he must not venture too far from the Zhao HQ. Oki plans to relocate Qin HQ to Zhao's previous HQ, but there's something that's not adding up. Nevertheless, Oki and his men make their advance. They reach the mountain, as there's still no word about Hokin's whereabouts. Riboku wishes to relocate to get a better vantage point, but the Qin strategists are worried. Moki requests their swords to eliminate any undue threats. At nighttime, everyone talks about their families at the campfire. As Kai realizes she has no place to call home, Shin says she belongs in the Haishin unit, which gives her comfort. Just then, out of nowhere, Hokin emerges. Hokin slaughters through the men as if they were made of paper. Kano orders his men to suit up and prepare for battle. Hokin continues his rampage, instilling fear in everyone. I am a calamity of the heavens. All you who stand before me here are simply unfortunate. The various soldiers are paralyzed with fear. Shin comes flying in as Hokin blocks his attack. Shin and Kai put up resistance, as Hokin claims that the 2 of them summoned him here. Hokin announces himself as the Bushin, making Shin and Kai worried. Shin and Kai attack from both sides, as Hokin changes his attention to Shin, knocking him out cold. Kyokai then looks to be entering a different state of mind. Let us dance. Oki knows of Hokin's presence, but can't leave Qin HQ on mere speculation. Hokin and Kai fight on, as the Bushin screams, "Let us see who is the rightful chosen warrior of the heavens." The fight continues at a blistering pace, with Kai landing several shots. Hokin claims she's the first one to cut him in 9 years. Kai wants to stall Hokin so they can call for reinforcements, but the Bushin prevents this from happening. Kano receives word that one man is terrorizing their camp. Kano's men set out, as 500 of Mangoku's army look to aid Hokin. While the other Qin officers know of the attack, they are unable to move at this time. Mangoku's cavalry arrive at Hokin's location. Shin wakes up, claiming they'll kill Hokin. Kano's unit provides backup to Haishin's unit. Hokin uses a carcass to block a barrage of arrows. Kano then instructs his 3,000 men to concentrate their entire efforts on attaining Hokin's head. The fight turns into an all-out brawl. The Haishin unit regroups, as they wonder how they'll take down the monster that is Hokin. Though he's a dangerous opponent, Shin realizes this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to take down the enemy commander-in-chief. Various loved ones pray for their family members, who are risking their lives right now. Shin splits up his squad into 3 groups, and tells them to wait for the signal. Kai's breath hasn't returned, so she'll sit out this battle. Kano and Mangoku trade blows, as the Haishin unit makes its move. Shin narrowly dodges Hokin's attack, and slashes into his body. The cut wasn't deep enough, as Hokin jabs his staff into Shin's abdomen. Kyokai steps in to prevent Hokin from killing Shin. Mangoku uses this distraction to cut into Kano. The Haishin unit does their best to protect their leader, as Hokin is relentless. The Haishin unit thusly retreats, with Shin knocked out once again. The Haishin unit is then cut off by Mangoku's men. Denyu leads a portion of the Haishin unit against the Mangoku army, as Bihei and Bito escape with their leader. Despite their injuries and fatigue, the 2 push on. Bihei decides to stay behind so he can act as a decoy. We then see a flashback of Shin, Bihei, Bito, and Piao as children. Just then, Shin finally regains consciousness. Bito reminisces about the past, as he wonders how many bruises one must attain before they become a general. Bito instructs him to rise up through the ranks, on his friend's thoughts and wishes to attain his ultimate dream. He passes away shortly afterward, as Shin sobs over his body. The Haishin unit reconvenes at Heki's location, as they recount the events from last night. Bihei is still alive, as Shin comes back with Bito on his back. Bihei cries as he says goodbye to his friend. Kai says that Hokin is a path seeker, someone who isolates themselves from society and seeks to achieve the pinnacle of their path. With training, Kai claims she'll beat Hokin in half a year, but Shin claims they don't have half a year. The Haishin unit is down to 36 men. They head towards a Qin flag, but it was a trap by the Zhao army. Fortunately, reinforcements come in the way of General Oki's army. Oki tells To they predicted Shomo's trap from the beginning. The two armies engage with one another as Oki charges into Shomo. Despite Shomo's brimming confidence, Oki cuts him in half, along with his horse. After Shomo's soldiers retreat, Oki educates Shin on the path toward becoming a general. Hokin returns to Zhao HQ as news spreads that Shomo is dead. Choso wants to kill Oki as Mobo's unit finds Zhao HQ and begins their attack. Riboku explains the importance of smoke signals and flags in conveying messages to one's army. Mobu plows his way into the Zhao army as he is stunned to see Hokin. Oki makes his way towards the Zhao HQ as Mobu and Hokin begin their cataclysmic battle. Well, actually, Hokin runs away from Mobu. Mobu gives chase, yet is caught into a trap set up by the Zhao army. Half of Mobu's men were lost to the rock slide. Despite warnings from his underlings, Mobu recklessly continues his chase of Hokin. Oki is aware of all the happenings on the battlefield, yet Mobu and Koku haven't responded to Oki's messages, so he's heading their way expeditiously. Kaini tells Ten that strategists experience more suffering than a frontline soldier, and they're far more fearsome as well. Choso watches on as Oki's army makes its arrival. Once Oki confronts Zhao HQ, Choso is nowhere to be found, disappearing into the mountains to finish off Mobu's unit. Oki can't move, however, since he might be ensnared in a similar trap. Currently, Mobu's vanguard is cut down to 2,000 soldiers. Despite this, Mobu catches up to Hokin and bashes his head in. Unfortunately, this man was an imposter. Mobu is thusly trapped once more. Yotanwa visits Issei, wishing to apprise him about critical information concerning this war. Oki and Choso aim on stalling each other. Oki pursues Choso in a leisurely fashion, sensing that something is off once again. Yotanwa tells Issei about the Jianyu, a northern horseman tribe, that the Mountain King attacked with 80,000 soldiers. Unfortunately, when they arrived at the battle with the Jianyu, they found 100,000 corpses lying on the ground. The ones responsible for this massacre was the Zhao army. The army responsible for this massacre is currently lying in wait, preparing to sideswipe the Shin forces. The strategist from the Zhao army that was responsible for this one-sided affair was none other than Riboku. Just then, a massive Zhao army converges on Riboku's location. The Qin strategists are then tied up. Kaini informs Moki that Riboku is one of the Zhao Three Great Heavens. Mobu's 1,000 men are surrounded by Choso's 12,000 soldiers. Oki arrives in the nick of time as Hokin stares him down. "Shall we finish this once and for all?" Choso has 12,000 men to Oki's 10,000. Both Choso and Oki boost their troops' morale with their brimming confidence. To's unit leads the charge as they dodge a volley of arrows. To's men then focus their efforts on the archers as Oki gives Shin a special request. Shin's unit performs a feint to lure the Zhao army in, so Oki can attack the Zhao HQ head-on. Oki's soldiers thusly turn into an army of demon gods. Choso wonders why Oki is attacking so early in the battle. In a flashback, Riboku planned to lure Oki in to this location from the start. The hidden army that took out the Jianyu would ambush him, and Hokin's presence was meant to ensure that Oki would definitely appear to this battleground. Though Oki was not aware of Riboku's plans, his intuition told him that an allied army was waiting to ambush him in this mountainous region. The monster that is Oki instills fear in the Zhao army. Hokin narrowly hits Oki with his spear, but still kills 3 men in the process. The two warriors then prepare to engage each other in a climactic battle. Oki remembers his first encounter with Hokin. The duel thusly begins. The two do well to block each other's attacks. Hokin then manages to cut Oki's face. Shin is surprised that Oki is being pushed back by Hokin. Oki cuts into Hokin's face. saying that the wounds upon his heart have not healed from 9 years ago. Chang Wen informs Issei that Kyo, one of the 6th grade generals, was a woman and was the one meant to become Oki's wife. Chang Wen recalls a time when he first saw Kyo, surprised that she was one of Oki's retainers. Kyo was a child of the servants working at Oki's household. Kyo quickly proved herself on the battlefield, taking the head of an enemy general. Oki then informed Chang Wen of King Shou's love of war. Since he was absent from the royal capital for periods of time, women in his harem who have caught his favor are executed along with their children, so that they won't receive his inheritance. As it turns out, Kyo's father is King Shou, but since his mother had no sway in the royal harem, she had a peddler sneak her daughter out of the castle, and was thusly made the daughter of a servant at Oki's household. However, King Shou and Kyo know nothing of this matter. King Shou congratulated Oki on a job well done, as he quickly realized that Kyo was his own flesh and blood. Shou finds out that Kyo is 16 years old. He decides to keep her birthright private to avoid any undue turmoil. Kyo informs Chang Wen that she'll become a great general under the heavens. Not long afterwards, Kyo achieved her dream for her relentless attacks and string of victories. Shou appointed Kyo to the 6th member of the Great Generals. In a future mission, Oki was to serve as Kyo's vice general. The Bayou mission would be Kyo's 100th, something Oki kept track of all this time. Oki remembers Kyo's corpse as he emanates pure rage and hatred. Hoken has lived with the fact that Oki bested him all those years ago. It took 3 years to recover from his wounds. The fight intensifies, with To breaking through the Zhao formation, infuriating Choso. Kai wonders how Oki is so strong to battle a Bushin. Oki looks for the fatal blow, but doesn't follow through. Just then, the hidden Zhao army arrives, with Riboku leading the charge. Riboku's army arrived earlier than predicted by Oki. This was thanks to Riboku's investigative skills, allowing him to outmaneuver the monstrous bird of Chin. Thanks to the terrain and Riboku's 40,000 soldiers, Oki's army is completely trapped. A great general represents a kingdom, so to take one down increases the prestige of the victorious kingdom. Riboku's forces charge in, as Oki admits he's been outplayed. Hoken reminds Oki that their duel is still not over. The bloodbath begins, with Oki gashing into Hoken's neck. Jika informs Kaini that Oki is the most hated general in all of China, for his unparalleled ferocity. Jika then claims that Riboku is a monster who surpasses even Oki. A new era is thusly about to begin. At this moment, I am, without a doubt, on the border between life and death. Choso is relishing in Oki's demise, but then he's cut down by To. Hoken and Oki continue their brawl, with the Chin general losing puddles of blood. Oki instructs his men to slay 10 Zhao soldiers before they die. We will use our strength to open up a path in this death trap. I, Oki, shall be right behind you all. Oki looks for the final blow, but Hoken impales him with his weapon. Turns out that Jika's arrow pierced Oki first, which allowed Hoken to land the fatal blow. Shin goes berserk, slashing Jika with intense fury. Oki's army drops their weapons in a shock. The pride of the Oki army should be to never give up, even until death. Oki slowly pierces Hoken's skin, informing him about the attributes of a general. Just what the hell are you? A great general under the heavens. To blocks Hoken's attack as Shin mounts Oki's horse. To instructs the Haishin unit to escape with Oki at full speed. Just then, Mobu's men enter the battle. To's group races towards Riboku's location. The Haishin unit plows through the Zhao army. Riboku then conveys his dislike of warfare to Kaini. Oki catches a second wind, helping Shin slash through the enemy. Oki instructs Shin to close his eyes and listen closely. Shin reopens his eyes to see things from a general's point of view, filling his body with strength. Mobu is opening up a path for Oki to escape, but it's a small opening and it's closing quickly. Shin makes his escape though, as Riboku claims it's useless to waste more soldiers on chasing them down, since he's already on death's doorstep. Thus, the battle ends here. The Chin soldiers gather around the great general that is Oki. Oki leaves his army in To's capable hands. I'm counting on you, To. Oki tells Mobu he'll become the symbol of Chin's army going forward. Since Oki cannot train Shin, he hands Shin his glaive as a parting gift. You have talent, Shin. Oki lived by the sword and died by the sword. He looks over at a smiling Kyo as he finally enters his eternal slumber. Oki's death subsequently spreads to the surrounding forces. Hokin's victory felt more like a loss, as he has no interest in participating in future wars. In a sense, this war was Qin's victory, since they prevented the Zhao army from invading them, yet no one is celebrating. The other states are pleased to hear that Oki has finally fallen in battle. We then see a flashback of when Oki spoke to Ise. Though there may be no need for compassion in war, neither should you treat those you conquer as slaves. One should not deign to oppress them, but rather treat them with the same love as your subjects. Ise and Chang Wen cry when they think of Oki's inspiring words. A half month later, the Qin army returns home, as Ten greets Shin as he walks in.